For many people today, Islam is understood mostly through headlines.
Through conflict, fear, politics, stereotypes. But history remembers another story. Long before much of the modern world built universities, hospitals, or public sanitation systems, the Islamic world was already advancing science, medicine, mathematics, education, architecture, trade, and social welfare on a massive scale. At a time when large parts of Europe struggled through the Dark Ages, cities like Baghdad, Cordoba, Cairo, and Damascus became centers of knowledge, astronomy, philosophy, medicine, and intellectual discovery. The Islamic world did not simply preserve knowledge, it expanded it. Inside vast libraries illuminated by candlelight, scholars translated and protected ancient Greek, Persian, Indian, and Roman texts that may have otherwise disappeared forever. Knowledge became an act of worship, and from that pursuit of knowledge, entire fields evolved. The very word algebra comes from Arabic. Muslim scholars advanced mathematics, astronomy, navigation, engineering, optics, chemistry, and medicine centuries before much of the modern world industrialized. Astronomers mapped the stars with astonishing precision. Scientists studied light, anatomy, and the natural world. Physicians like Ibn Sina wrote medical texts that would influence Europe for hundreds of years. And while illness in many parts of the world was still treated largely through superstition, organized hospitals in the Islamic world began developing systems of patient care, pharmacies, medical training, and treatment regardless of wealth or social status. Medicine became a public responsibility. Compassion became institutional. But the story of Islamic civilization was not only scientific, it was also deeply social. At a time when much of the world struggled with sanitation and disease, Islamic cities emphasized hygiene, washing, bathing, and public cleanliness as part of everyday life. Clean streets, flowing water, public baths, personal hygiene integrated into both faith and society. Centuries before many modern sanitation systems emerged, and while women in many societies could not inherit wealth or own property independently, Islam gave women inheritance and financial rights more than 1400 years ago. At a time when tribal superiority, racism, and ethnic hierarchy dominated much of the world, Islam taught that no race, nationality, or ethnicity was superior to another, a radical idea for its time. The Quran declared that human value was not determined by skin color, wealth, or lineage, but by character and righteousness. In an age of division and tribalism, this message carried extraordinary weight. Islamic civilization also developed structured systems of charity and social welfare. Zakat obligated the wealthy to support the poor. Orphans were given legal protection. Travelers, widows, and vulnerable members of society were supported through organized community systems. Charity was not viewed as optional kindness. It became social responsibility. Even business ethics evolved through detailed contracts, inheritance systems, trade laws, and financial accountability at a time when exploitation and corruption were common across many societies. Markets flourished. Trade routes connected civilizations. Knowledge traveled across continents. And from the streets of Baghdad, to the libraries of Cordoba, to the universities of Cairo, a civilization emerged that helped shape parts of the modern world itself. This does not mean Muslims were perfect. No civilization is. Islamic history, like all human history, contains conflict, political struggle, injustice, and contradiction. But reducing more than 1 billion people, and more than 1,000 years of civilization, into fear, stereotypes, or political headlines alone, erases one of the most influential intellectual and cultural periods in human history. Because the truth is often far more complicated than the stories people inherit. And sometimes, history remembers less than it should. Perhaps the goal of understanding history is not to romanticize civilizations, but to understand them honestly, through facts instead of fear, knowledge instead of assumptions, reflection instead of division. Because civilizations are rarely built by one people alone, human progress has always been shared. And long before the modern world became what it is today, the Islamic world helped carry the light of knowledge through one of history's darkest chapters.
Through the light of knowledge. For in the end,